People say sometimes I've had enough, but I'm not going to take it. I'm fighting back. And that's what this story is about. Former NFL player and daughter held at gunpoint by cops. Watch this.
I'm scared out of my wits. You got lasers pointed at you, and you thinking the very worst, that somebody's going to shoot you at this point.
A brand new lawsuit was just filed by former NFL star Wesley Leasy and his daughter Jade. The police made a huge mistake and detained them at gunpoint, handcuffed Leasy.
On the ground! Now! Lay on the ground! What's happening? There's no message. We just moving for put the back door up. What are you guys doing? Yeah. Hey, I have a heart problem.
I got you, man.
Okay. Why are you guys arresting us?
We'll explain everything right now, okay?
Okay.
He's filing this lawsuit because he says he wants accountability and he's suing for damages. This was terrifying and humiliating, he tells me.
I'm in a very precarious situation. I know my life is in danger, but I know that my daughter on the other side of me is becoming unstable. She doesn't know what's going on. My daughter's hysterically crying. There's at least 10 guys with their guns pulled out, and there are lasers now pointing at you, machine guns, heavy, not a handgun. You thinking the very worst, that somebody's going to shoot you at this point. You don't know why, or they think you're going for a weapon, and your kid and yourself is going to be killed right here on the spot.
That's absolutely what was going through their mind. It's sure, we can sort this out later. But when you have lasers pointed at you and you can't do anything to help your daughter, you might think this is the end. The incident arose from pure incompetence from the police. Look at this.
Now, what happened? The police made a huge mistake when their chopper flying over the highways, tracing a vehicle of an alleged shooter, a white Mercedes. They lost track of that vehicle, and then they were circling around trying to find it, and they picked up on another white Mercedes driven by Wesley Leasy, who, by the way, looks nothing like the suspect.
Well, there was a homicide over in Mesa. The car matches your car. And finally he tells me this whole thing about, oh, there was we thought it was you. We lost the other car in the airport. Your car happened to match the car that we were chasing, and here we are. You got helicopters apparently that were on the scene. They had utilized some sort of system that they can read the license plate through the traffic cams. So they had all the technology in the world, and yet here we are, guns drawn, my life in danger, my kid's life in danger. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I'd be staring down a gun barrel with my kid thinking that I was going to lose my life and hers. No person here in this country should be detained, held at gunpoint, lives in jeopardy because of, poor technology use, poor ability for officers to make the credible decisions that he needs to be, critical thinking. The training needs to be better.
Two words there, critical thinking. That's the thing that perhaps you can't always teach in the training, but absolutely when you are carrying a loaded gun in a uniform with some other guys and women, and you can take someone's life, there needs to be critical thinking. Former NFL player Wesley Leasy and his daughter are now seeking $2 million after police mistakenly detained them at gunpoint at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. It happened last April. At the time of the detainment, the Mesa police said in a statement that the shooter was possibly a white male wearing a black mask, black sweats. Leasy and his daughter are Black. We do not believe officers with the vehicle were aware of this prior to or at the time of the traffic stop, the department said in April. I'm 6'4", 240 pounds. I'm a nice-looking man, but I'm dark-skinned, Leasy said. There's never been a confusion between a Caucasian and myself. According to Mesa, Arizona, police officers were responding to a shooting at a nearby apartment complex. They received multiple descriptions of the suspect's car, white four-door Mercedes with temporary plates. Police say an air unit spotted a car matching the description entering the airport. I have a brand new Mercedes. It's got temporary plates on it, Leasy told NBC News. But here in the state of Arizona, in Scottsdale, where I live, there are a ton of white Mercedes that are around here. Benjamin Taylor, a lawyer for Leasy, said Friday Leasy and his daughter sought therapy because of the incident. This has traumatized Mr. Leasy and his daughter for the rest of their lives, Taylor said in a statement. That's not how you want to get picked up from the airport. One of the officers appeared to joke. This is not a time for jokes. That's according to the body cam footage cited in the lawsuit. That's not going to go over well. And it wasn't a case of mistaken identity. This is a case of common sense, said Attorney Taylor. They're trying to sweep it under the rug. And that's why you have to bring a notice of claim to make sure that this is not swept under the rug. Make sure the public and the world understands that these things happen every day to totally innocent people. Police officers witnessed a standard common father and daughter reunion at the airport and then drew their weapons, forcing them both to the ground, handcuffing both of them, utterly refusing to take the context of the situation into account, the notice reads. Mr. Leasy and his daughter must grapple with the pain and embarrassment stemming from their public arrest, imprisonment at the airport, it goes on to say. There's not a day that passes that I don't think me and my daughter could have been dead on that ground that day. You know, I have dreams waking up that you're dead there on the ground, blood spilling on the ground, the former Cardinals linebacker said. And so you're waking up panicked, you know, sort of feeling yourself to see if you're okay. Beautiful picture. Mesa Police Department refuses to comment on pending litigation. Police Chief Dan Butler there. If there was a different scenario that was playing out here, they would comment. They would definitely comment if they didn't understand that they made a horrific, potentially could have been deadly mistake. So, Elliot, here you have a linebacker, former one for the Cardinals. I've been on NFL sidelines. It sounds like a car crash. The collision, it sounds like a car crash when they hit. I mean, you want to be, would never let it, if I had a son, play football. But I mean, you have to be, I don't want to say brave, willing to go out there on that football field, lace him up, whatever, however you want to put it. They reduce this man and his child, who he wanted to have this beautiful reunion with at the airport. Somebody's picking up somebody, to a mess, an emotional, traumatized mess. Not because things happen and things, you know, everybody can make a mistake, but because you didn't follow the protocols. You didn't avail yourself of what else was around you, you know, like reporters say what, when, where, why. Well, you just kind of look around and assess. And apparently that's not permitted when there's a bunch of you in uniform and a chopper above. What say you?
Yeah, I do wonder what goes through the minds of these police officers where they're in the middle of traumatizing this family. No one goes, hey, let's like maybe double check real quick that we haven't made some sort of terrible mistake. I do think it's a terrible thing that happened. At the same time, though, I really love that he is suing and actually going after these folks, because I think a lot of times when cases like this happen, they essentially get away with it because the people that are affected by it are not as economically able to actually seek justice. And so I think a lot of these sort of like when he's talking about like the training and everything, they rely on the fact that most people can't afford to actually speak out against them. And so I think him having that privilege and being able to do it as a result of him being a successful football player is kind of like a very a beautiful thing in the midst of a bunch of terrible stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that the celebrity might play into it too, right? Because if he were not a
Yeah.
celebrity, it means we've look, this may seem unfair to people, but we've reported on cases where they know they made a mistake and then they compound it by saying, well, you were jaywalking or well, this or that. And it doesn't just end there because they want to do what's called really like an offset. Yeah, I could have killed you. Yeah, I was in the wrong, but let me get something trumped up on you so that we can kind of just call this, even Steven and move on with things. So there's that. And then I think celebrity too, that we're doing the story, and look, Indisputable covers the everyday man and woman as this program of record should. But the fact that this is going to get a look by the public because of who this man is. He's human. This could be anyone. This was somebody in our community we rooted for. I think is important in this context too. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, a lot of the criticisms I think that are levied against people who do go after these police officers or these police agencies is, oh, they're just kind of, in this for the money. They just are trying to get a quick buck, and they're just using this really tragic thing as a way to benefit themselves, and they kind of dismiss it and, like that lawyer said, shove it under the rug. And so I think you can't really make that claim here. This is a gentleman who's going, no, I was traumatized, my family was traumatized, and we're going to do something about it.
Yeah. So there's that. Listen, again, not in that case. I think there's willful misconduct and then there are mistakes. And sometimes there's a bleed over, right? But when you don't follow the protocols, I put it in that willful bucket because you've been doing stuff like this and perhaps you've just gotten away with it because maybe the perp the last time was actually the perp you were looking for. So there's that.